You're not on the field, court, or ice. You're on the couch. From DG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, C. Wall, delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from the hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's C-Ball, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you're not on the field. Cold on the ice, pick any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it, make them mad, man. See all and we live and direct. Sit back on the couch and relax. Come on.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update. And I am your host, C-Wall, checking in as I do each and every week to bring you all the latest and greatest information on the Washington Commanders. I see you all are already checking in. And as we check in and say hello to everybody, I want to already put out the reminder that this is a live Bowie television recording. So all comments, questions, anything that is like, wow, this is a really great question or comment has the opportunity to appear in the live television recording. Make sure you all are hitting that love button, okay? And sharing this show with your Washington Commander loving family and friends. I know not everybody always loves the Commanders, but hey, deep down, you really, really do love them. You really do. So make sure you're sharing and tagging your folks in to take part in the discussion. We're going to start covering a lot of things. Before we get into it, let's say hello to everyone that has joined us. I already see that folks are saying hello to Mama Waller. So say hello to her, you all. And I see John Adams and Cameron Mingo and David Hood and Corey Heyman. You all listen, tag your Commanders, your fellow Commanders fans in. Let's lock in and let's stay tuned. Make sure you all hit that love button so that I know that you're here and you are all accounted for. Look, there's a lot to discuss. And before the show, I absolutely said, okay, you all submit your questions of things you want me to answer. There was about 12 or so questions that came through directly to me. So I'm going to definitely try to get to those questions. But, you know, we got to go through what we normally go through on the show. And, of course, we'll go through some highlights and updates and things of that nature. Before we get into it, this week, now we've had preseason game 1 for the Commanders. We had preseason game 2. So, want to play a tried and true game, and that is what's your one word? And this is what is your one word to describe how you are feeling after the Commanders' second preseason game. So I'm going to give you a moment to go ahead and drop that what's your one word, because I'm sure there's a couple of one words that folks can share for certain. What is your one word? And I'm seeing some quietness. So maybe everyone's still trying to think about what their one word is. But I see some coming through now. I see David is saying disappointed. It takes a while to kind of figure out, okay, what is my one word? What is it? As I was sharing with you all throughout the week, and as I was featured on different shows throughout the week, I was saying preseason game 2 is going to tell a lot. It's going to tell a lot. And I think even the team got that message of it's going to tell a story and really share, okay, where is this team going into the season? Okay, so with that being said, let's get into some of the highlights and just some things that wanted to share. Media colleague Nikki Jabvala posted this, and it is through week 2. She posted this graphic of Washington versus their opponents. So looking at the numbers, you might say, okay, well, maybe it's not that bad, but I think overall, after going back through and really watching the games, there's still some things that are glaringly apparent that nobody wants to see. I think they're still concerned, if you go all the way down to the bottom, about those first half points, and not being able to score in the first quarter or putting some points on the board. We've seen that before, right? Where there was issues with starting out fast in games, whereas the opponent is able to just march down the field. I'll let this stay up there for another moment or so, just so you all can take just some time to look through it and really say, okay, not sure if I'm really feeling this, or to Cameron's point, said not going to be too concerned. I think some of the things that folks were seeing from the other teams being able to score immediately are what people are still concerned about. Why does it seem to be so easy for first team offenses to score on this first team defense? I think that is concerning to everyone for sure. So keep those things in mind as we continue to go through the show. I see some other folks have checked in. I see Eric Jessup checked in, and John Adams said that he was out of town, didn't see the game. So hopefully the show catches you up. Absolutely. So, hey, I see a comment here, and let's hope so. I want to acknowledge this comment here. I think they're not showing their hand. We would hope so, but I still think when you're playing in the game, I mean, every other team is, right? We saw the Carolina Panthers starters on offense go down the field. You saw Patrick Mahomes in the Kansas City Chiefs get down the field, and it's still not a lot of schemes. It really is, just playing it through with both team starters and throughout the game. But I think it's still an indicator of some of the issues and the challenges that this team has seen in recent years. And it's reoccurring. And I think that's what is giving folks some panic. Like, wait, these are issues that should be resolved, and they're not being resolved. And I think that's what is concerning to so many. Is let's go back to the 2020 season when folks were saying the defense was not as elite as folks thought they were, because any of the major things that the defense was able to do was always on a second or third string quarterback. That's concerning. Then in 2021, you saw the issue of not being able to stop anything on third down defense. And now even Coach Rivera is being a little more open and honest about not liking what he's seen there. Last week, Coach Del Rio mentioned didn't like it. So there definitely has to be something done to get to stopping these things that are just reoccurring. As folks have said here again, had the issues last year. Okay, so here's some other things of note. The injuries continue. Defensive lineman Bunmi Rutimi is now on the IR. So we want to wish him a speedy recovery and hope he's doing well. I know a lot of fans were happy to see this. So if you were happy to see that the Commanders have activated tight end Logan Thomas from the PUP list after he passed his physical, let's give a love emoji or a fire emoji in the chat to say, hey, was definitely happy to see this for sure. And I believe Cameron had a question about that, and we're going to get to those questions in a moment. I want to bring this up because this is also a question that came up. And we're going to get to questions that were sent in before the show in a moment. And after practice today, Ron Rivera shared that it's still too early to assess which players are going to play in Baltimore on Saturday, Battle of the Beltway. So keep those things in mind. Yes, in previous years, the teams most likely didn't play their starters, right, in the last preseason game. But that's when there was 4 preseason games versus now there being 3. So it could be different. It could be a lot different. That, hey, depending on how coach is feeling and how things are looking in practice, he may say, I want folks to play at least a quarter. So, hey, let's continue to see what happens. But I want to get into some of these questions because, listen, there's a lot to be discussed, and I got some great questions in. Hit the love emoji or fire emoji if you are ready to get into these questions, you all. It's a bunch of them, and they were really good. So here's a question that came through. Is it coaching that has the secondary lined up 10 yards off the ball? Is it coaching? Sometimes during the game, you can see how far the players are playing off the ball. And yes, this is how they're coached. This is how it happens in practice, unless the play in the scheme calls for otherwise. So what you are seeing out there and what they are doing, that is what they are all in sync being coached to do. And this is what the play calls for in that instance. I thought this was a great question, and I actually got it multiple times. So I wanted to make sure that got asked and answered and addressed in this form for certain. John Adams, a love button, love emoji, a fire emoji in the chat for John Adams. What is the chance Gibson will be on the 53-man roster? I think there's a high chance that Antonio Gibson will be on the roster. I mean, barring any setbacks in fumble issues. I did see a conversation or a comment come through from Cameron Mingo, I believe, about a comment that was made when Karita Parks and I were on one of our media colleagues' shows on the urban sports scene, Fox Sports 1340 AM over the weekend. And I mean, hey, use Antonio where he's most comfortable. Use him where he's most comfortable, natural, based on what he did in college. I think it's important to do that. Okay, hey, you've tried it in a certain area. I think on Saturday, everyone saw when he's out in space, when you've used him as a hybrid running back, wide receiver, he does well. You saw in one series, yes, he returned kicks, but he also returned kicks in college. So, hey, if it is decided that he is one of the players that will play on Saturday, barring any setbacks, barring any fumbles, I think Antonio Gibson will absolutely be on the roster. Okay, I think it absolutely makes the 53. Want to say what's up to the First String Podcast. I know that they have all checked in for certain. And let's move on to another question from John Adams. What does the team really look like on the O-line? I'm going to be honest, as always, and very transparent about this question. We don't know. And here's why. The team is dealing with so many injuries. Andrew Norwell was out. Wes Schweitzer, Charles Leno, Nolan Laufenberg, Trey Turner out. All of these injuries, and the players are doing already what they had to do last season, and that was be versatile, switch up positions. So it's hard to say exactly what's there on the O-line, considering they're dealing with all of these injuries. Of course, when they are at full strength, 110% healthy, absolutely, you're dealing with a group of men that can play different positions if asked and if need to, and can absolutely protect the quarterback. But right now, you haven't seen all the ones come out, haven't seen everybody come out together because they're dealing with so many injuries. Okay, so many different injuries. So remains to be seen. I would like to know myself. Absolutely. So I want to acknowledge this comment here from Mazdak. I hope the injuries aren't as bad and they are just being cautious. I think it's a little bit of both. I think folks are really injured. And I think because they're really injured, they want to be cautious not to bring them back sooner than need. So considering, though, that they're dealing with injuries and a lot of times the backups, I think what they're seeing is solid. But in terms of answering that question, I think that, hey, still remains to be seen what's really out there. Okay. I see Kevin's question. Kevin Williams, with AG fumbling so much, will he be on special teams full time? I don't think it's necessarily that he'll be on there full time. I think that they'll use AG as we saw him utilized on Saturday. That's how he's been utilized in practice recently. So I think that will be, it may be a little bit of both. And let me go back to the return thing as well. I think it needs to be said again, the team does not have a kick returner. So somebody needs to fill that very, very, very important role. So hopefully, if, there isn't anyone else to fill that role, hopefully AG is able to hold on to the football and make some progress in that area so that the team can have excellent field position. Okay, you don't want me to go back on my kick returner rant, but absolutely, hey, use AG there. He's done it in college. He does it well. I think on the first series, he did well this past weekend. So, hey, if you don't have anybody else that's better in that role, why not use him there? Because he absolutely did it in college, and he was pretty daggone good at it too. So, think he can be utilized there, as well as that hybrid wide receiver running back position as well that we saw over the weekend. Okay. Who is QB1? Another one from Kevin Williams, because the rookie looks good. Nothing has changed. Ron Rivera is still very clear. QB1, Carson Wentz. QB2, Taylor Heineke. QB3, Sam Howell. Okay, dog, that's your QB order currently. All right, so still Carson Wentz at QB1. Another Antonio Gibson question. I've been getting a lot of Antonio Gibson questions in the last week or so. Is Brian Robinson going to be RB1, or is Antonio Gibson still the number one guy? I don't know what the team is going to decide, but hey, I think Brian Robinson has showed everybody this past weekend that he's absolutely can be and should be RB1. May as well. So I mean, unless something else happens or they decide to go another route, I think they've shown Brian Robinson a bit out there with the ones, and I think that's who it is based on what we've seen. All right, and then we're going to start getting into audience questions. We already asked this one. Are the Commanders fully invested in Carson Wentz? I want to say this question from Dave Thomas, another question from Dave, is they're absolutely invested in Carson Wentz for this year. I think they've proven that based on the salary and based on the deal that he has for this year. I think when we look at the fact that they drafted Sam Howell, it's okay. This is Carson Wentz's job to win or to lose, because they absolutely have insurance for the future in case Carson does not work out. Okay? So, hey, if he doesn't work out, they're only tied to him for a year. But I think as far as are they fully invested in Carson Wentz? Yes, absolutely. They are fully invested in Carson Wentz for this season. Okay? Let's see what else. Like, what's some good ones? Let's see. Theo asks, what are we going to do to address the broken secondary? This is one that I'm actually going to say I'm even watching. It may not have been that apparent in preseason game 1, but absolutely in preseason game 2, playing against Patrick Mahomes in the Kansas City Chiefs offense, it was abundantly clear that there's some challenges there, but I think the challenges goes back to coaching and how they are schemed up to defend their side of the ball. I really think that's what it is. I think the players are absolutely doing what they are coached to do. So got to get to the root of that coaching. But I want to say, Patrick Mahomes did not seem to be fearful at all throwing in the direction of William Jackson III, Kendall Fuller, or Cameron Curl. And these are the Commander stars in the secondary that he had no issues with throwing the ball there and making completions. So we'll see. We shall see what happens there. But I think they absolutely got a wake-up call. I know folks kept saying, well, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, what better team to really understand and do the litmus test on, am I really that good or not? So that you can really understand what needs to be worked on. That's the team you really need to understand and know, am I really as good as I think I am? So, hey, we shall see what happens, but there definitely needs to be some changes there, because even for myself, that was an eye-opener on the defensive side of the ball in terms of the defensive backs, because of how well and how great of a camp they've had. Playing against Patrick Mahomes and others on over the weekend, it was like, whoa, hey, now you're getting a test to see how good you really are when you're playing against the elite, for certain. A question from Lamar Bland: should Ron play his starters in preseason game 3? If it was me, yes. Preseason isn't like how it was before, when you have 4 games and you said, okay, well, I don't want to play my starters because they've already played in 3 games. Well, this is game 3. And just because it's the last game doesn't necessarily mean the starters don't play at all. I think there's an opportunity to continue to play at least one quarter with the starters, and there's absolutely no harm in that. As I shared earlier, Ron has not made any commitments. He does not know what they're going to do in terms of who is going to play in preseason game 3. But in terms of the question being asked by Lamar, should he play the starters? I think he absolutely should, even if it's just for a quarter. All right, what are we doing? Okay, since Logan Thomas is off the pup list, will he be ready for week 1? Cameron Mingo asked this question, and again, it's another one that says, we don't know. Really, they do not know. And I think it's for real. I think it depends on how quickly the other tight ends can be ready, because there's so many tight ends injured right now. That was a strong position group that now has dwindled down to only one fully healthy player. And now folks are starting to they signed a couple of folks over the weekend, and now Logan Thomas is back. But I still do not think that it is a go for certain that Logan is going to play week 1. There's still some time before week 1. So let's see how he moves in, how he feels as practices go. But I think they're going to be very cautious in committing Logan to week 1. That may be like a very last minute decision, like, okay, yes, he's absolutely going to go. Sadiq Charles roster spot in jeopardy due to Chris Paul's apparent surge. Another question from Lamar Bland. Again, with all of the injuries on O-line, I mean, of course, that goes with anybody's kind of job at this point. But I thought that was a great question. I think it was always Sadiq's job to lose. And for sure, Chris Paul is doing well. And again, because of the injuries, it's giving others an opportunity to surge because folks have been sidelined. So sure, yes, Sadiq could lose his roster spot, but the injuries may help him a bit to kind of keep being able to show and prove that he could potentially be a starter or be a very dependable backup for certain. But Chris Paul is doing a great job. So far, so good for sure. From Terrence Brooks, has Wentz gotten the command of the offense, or is everything still vanilla? I honestly think that's a question for Scott Turner. I don't think that's a Carson Wentz thing at all. I think, Carson and the offense is going to be led by what the offensive coordinator calls. I'm going to say something that I always say, and I'm going to try to get to some questions, and you all please drop more questions in the chat because I can't see all of them. So if a question didn't get answered and you want to answer, we still have about 2 or so minutes. So drop those questions in the chat in case I missed it. But I think this is Carson Wentz can absolutely have command of the offense, and I would have faith that he does, but Scott Turner has to allow for each player to be able to show their strengths, play to their strengths, and call and create plays that allow them to do as such. So it's going to take some time because he's new to the system. It is what it is in that regard, you all. It just is what it is. He's new to the system. He's new to those things. So I'm always going to be an advocate of doing what is most comfortable and most natural to the player so that it shortens the learning curve time. I think that's a question more of Scott Turner than it is Carson. I think I saw some other questions. Any more that I may have missed, please drop them again in the chat because I'm pretty sure I missed some things. Someone asked, I think it was Henry Lane, about the game that I'm most looking forward to. Week 1. Okay? Every day, every week. No need in looking forward. Week 1. Because everyone is thinking that this game is so easy and a definite W, and it is not. The Jacksonville Jaguars have definitely leveled up in the offseason, and I've been saying it. This is the team that got Carson Wentz traded, and oh, by the way, Doug Peterson is the head coach over there, down there in Jacksonville in Duval County. So I want to see week 1. And let's not forget something. If there's issues on the defensive line on the Commander side, oh, by the way, the Jacksonville Jags have a Pro Bowl O-lineman that we all know very well, very, very well. And that's Brandon Sheriff. Okay? That game is not a shoo-in. That is going to be a rumble. It's going to be a tough game. And I'm ready for that one. Week 1. So, hey, that's my answer to that question. You all, we're actually at our time. Can you believe it? Wow, you guys have been so awesome and so much fun to talk Commanders with. You all, listen, thanks for checking in. Thanks for hitting that love button. Thanks for sharing the show, dropping those fire emojis. You all, listen, I'm I'm everywhere at this point. You can try to catch me wherever you possibly can to be talking Commanders. Make sure you're sending in those questions so we can try to get them on the screen during the live television recording. You all, this has been fun. You all have been amazing. And I can't wait to see you guys again soon.
You're not on the field, court, or ice. You're on the couch. From PG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, C. Wall, delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from a hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's C-Wall, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you not on the field. Cold on the ice, pick any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it, make them mad, man. See all that we live and direct. Sit back on the couch and relax. Come on.